Welcome back, guys, to another roundtable. My name is Adam. I have Rusmin.
Hello.
And Victor.
Hi everyone.
Thank you once again for joining us. And we're going to talk about Singapore banks and give an update about what's happening with them, because we recently attended their annual general meetings as well.
Yep.
So AGM season was very recent. Victor attended DBS and OCBC. I was at the UOB AGM. I just wanted to share what we learned and what's up with the banks and what the yields are and stuff like that. So why don't we just jump straight into the key highlights from what we learned from the AGMs.
Okay, let's talk about the Basel IV first.
Okay.
Right? So that's very important because the Basel IV is going to happen in this coming, I think June or mid-year, they say. Mid-year. So it's pretty soon now already. Right? And when the Basel IV happens, right, they're going to standardize the way they record the capital and all this. So because the local banks is very strict in the Basel IV, as in MAS is very strict on it, right? So they tend to be more relaxed now, right? And there's going to be some capital that is going to come back to the bank, free up certain capital, okay? So when I go to the DBS AGM and ask, the feeling that they give me is that they will see whether the capital can do something or not. If not, right, they will actually have also options to return the capital back to the shareholder, okay? So DBS always give me the feeling that they're trying to return capital to shareholder. Okay. So that's DBS. Okay. For OCBC, for the Basel question, I think they give me the feeling is that they will hold the money.
Okay.
Yeah. So they will use it for the right, as in investment in the business or acquisition or whatsoever. Right.
Yeah.
But the feeling of giving back capital was not there when I asked them.
Okay.
For UOB, I think you.
Yeah, I was at the UOB. I think some shareholder also brought up the Basel IV question.
Yep.
So the feeling that I think the management said they didn't say that they were going to return it. And in fact, they said if there's an opportunity for us to reinvest that capital and grow the business, they said, isn't that better for you as shareholders?
Yeah, so I think
It depends,
right?
Depends.
So I think they just get you just gave the indication that no, we're not considering like just giving it out straight away. We're going to consider what we're going to do with the capital and figure out what the best use for it is.
So I think so far it's very, very consistent among the three banks.
Yeah.
The DBS is like always want to give capital. For UOB and OCBC, they tend to want to hold on to the capital. Right. I don't know, is it because whoever is the major shareholder does have an effect on this?
I'm sure.
Yeah. So if you know who's the major shareholder of all the three banks, it seems like that's the reason for their behavior.
Okay.
Yeah. So that is basically the Basel highlights. For the DBS, I think some of the key matrix that I look at and the highlights that they talked in the AGM, I think is very interesting. Firstly, I think previously before the I think 2017 or so, DBS credit cost is actually much higher than the two other peers, right? But since after the 2016-17, they go and manage their credit cost, so now it's way lower than their peers already. Okay, and also they show a chart on the ROE, right? So they shows that in 2006 the net interest margin of DBS is 2.2, but the ROE was 12.3%. Right now it's 2.15, but the ROE is 18%. Okay, so it shows that they actually become more efficient throughout the years and they can get higher ROE. So that's a very good sign for the DBS. For OCBC, I think I didn't really get much insight. Why? Because I don't like the way the board actually asks the shareholder to give all the questions first, then they answer the questions. Okay. Because I asked a few questions, and I feel that by the time when they collected all the questions and when they answer right, they didn't answer directly to the question. They get mixed up the questions and all this.
All right, so they don't even repeat the question as they answer it. So it's just collect every question from
then they roughly around the feeling they roughly say the questions like regarding this. But my question, they actually answer it. Not regarding, because I got one question I asked about the how will the interest rate affect them with the interest rate, which slightly going to decrease, right? It affects their ROE, but they mix the ROE with the Basel IV.
So it wasn't the best AGM for asking questions, was the way they handled it.
Yeah, I didn't really like it actually.
Anything else jump out of that session? I mean, even though it was like that.
Nothing much, because a lot of the things, I think, I think the main thing is, right, I can confirm is that OCBC is very conservative board, and the board has been very consistent throughout the 92 years. So they are able to do that is because the board is very prudent. That is the feeling I get. So whether this bank will survive the next maybe 50 years, right, I think the probability is high because the way the board managed it. Okay, because the chairman actually shared history on why they survive so long, right? It's because they are very prudent, and the habits and the thinking passed down from the predecessor all the way until them.
Okay.
Right? So they still maintain that to maintain the prudency. So I think I understand about giving back capital, but also the key thing about bank is you have to make sure that they survive.
Yeah.
So are you saying that I should put more money in the OCBC bank?
As an investor or as a saver?
As a saver.
I mean, you know that they manage more safely lah.
Okay.
They tend to be more conservative.
Okay.
Right.
Well, I get the same feeling when I attended the UOB AGM as well. So there were a lot of condolences for Dr. Wee, who passed on recently. So his son is now in charge, and UOB has the same feel. They are conservative, prudent. It feels like slow and steady wins the race for them.
Yep.
So one question was about ROE. So you mentioned that DBS ROE was about 18%, right?
Yep.
Which is, in context, is extremely high, right? Because if you compare it to the global average for banks, it's not that high.
Mm-hmm.
So it's one of the few banks that can reach 18% ROE. And there was one shareholder that asked the board at UOB, said, hey, there's another bank. I think he didn't say DBS. He just said there's another bank that has an ROE of 18%.
There's only 8 DBS.
Obvious. So obvious.
I can't remember if he said. Yeah, but anyway, UOB is at 14%. Okay, which is decent. And he asked, hey, if they can do 18%, why can't you guys do 18%? And basically, the management just said, hey, look, 14% is actually pretty good.
Yep.
If you look at the global context of how banks do their ROE. But if you want me to get 18%, I have to take on more risk to get that higher return. Do you want that? Because we are more concerned about making sure that this bank grows steadily and we don't take risks that are out of beyond what we're comfortable with, and we're happy with 14%, and we're comfortable with actually hitting that target. Consistently at 14%. So that's what they. Yeah. That's what they.
I think my previous
yeah.
AGM with UOB also the same thing. They try to build a more steady model than a very volatile model.
Okay.
Right. I think for OCBC, I think the ROE for them to maintain if the interest rate were to drop, I think likely they are able to do it, but they didn't really answer that question. But I think viewers should also take note is that their CET1 ratio is very high, which is why they are the lowest ROE among the 3 banks. Okay, because they hoard a lot of the capital. But of course, the management also got re-emphasized that they are not there to hoard the capital, right? They do use the capital to do things, right? To reinvest the business and also to acquire maybe other banks, right? Which they did, I think, increase the stake or acquire, I think, an Indonesian bank or something, right? So they say they are not capital, they are not hoarder of capital. Okay, for DBS, I think they give the more assuring part in terms of when interest rate drop, because I think the CEO already says that he thinks that the normalized interest rate is about 3%. So in that condition, right, he's quite I think confident in I think in the medium term, right, 15 to 17% range. Okay. Right, they are very confident on that. So they give the most assuring in terms of the maintaining the ROE during the possible decreased interest rate environment, and also returning capital back to shareholder. Yeah.
All right. So at UOB, I think same questions. Basically, everyone's asking interest rates go down, what happens? And they also gave the reply that, hey, it's not just about interest rates. We also have fees business, and we're growing that. Focus on growing that portion for UOB as well. So they recently acquired the Citibank retail arm in Malaysia, Thailand, Vietnam. Yep. And what's the last one? Indonesia.
Indonesia, yeah.
That's right. So it's not just about interest. We also have fees business that's growing, the more cards and everything. So the topic of Taylor Swift came up.
Yep.
Because Taylor Swift was in Singapore, a huge event. Was it 6 concerts? Was it 6? Yeah. And it was UOB was the card sponsor.
The official, I think, the official card sponsor
for that event. And if you have a UOB card, you can basically get priority access to buy the tickets and stuff like that. So the stat was that the card base for UOB grew 45%.
Yeah, correct.
Which is tremendous. So that's the Taylor Swift effect directly on one company.
Correct.
I mean, there were a lot of news articles about how it boosted Singapore's economy and stuff.
I think I read somewhere is they grow by 45% and they eventually their customer base surpassed the 8 million.
It grew very well.
Base,
so I think a lot of people like specifically signed up for a credit card.
This one is a good job for
it was
UOB,
tremendous. So a lot of them would say, hey, could you do the same for other famous acts? Bring them in and then basically the management was saying, hey, yeah, sure, as long as you sign up for our cards. No problem. The other stat was that of all the people who attended the Taylor Swift concert over 6 nights, 42% of the audience had a UOB credit card. So this is incredible because you remember that this concert wasn't just Singapore. It was people flying in from the region and stuff. So it means all these people, 42% of them, had a UOB credit card, which is great news for the bank. So they're increasing their fees from not just Singapore but from other places as well. So that was interesting because when the management mentioned that stat, everyone was clapping, even though it was like a room full of aunties and uncles. Not young people watching Taylor Swift. But I think maybe I guess a few of them went to watch Taylor Swift as well. But they were all like pretty excited.
But I think this one they really did a good job.
They did.
They really nail it, man.
So good job with the management when it comes to this and stuff like that. So this is some of the key highlights that I got from the UOB AGM as well. Pretty much the same across the board in general. Correct. So bank views on interest rates, basically, we have to rely on the Fed, which can flip-flop anytime.
I think in general, most of the view I think is they don't think the interest rate will go very low. They will just normalize. I think 3%.
Okay.
Not only this year, but last year, this year, the feeling is the same, I feel. So I think the times of low interest rate is over already.
I think there was one point. I think the UOB management mentioned that, hey, look, the low interest rate environment is actually not normal. It's actually a blip in history. Most of the time it's not 0 or 1%. Most of the time it's 3%. If you look back way back, it's always been about 3% interest rates. That 10-year or 20-year period after the 2008 crisis is a special case. And we may not actually go back to that interest rate environment.
The probability is very low.
Unless there's a big crisis
something
or black swan event like what we saw in COVID. It drop it back again. So that can change anytime, but the probability again is low.
So don't expect that to be normal because it actually isn't normal. So any other major things that stood out? Is there anything else that major? I mean, okay, for example, DBS. Anyone complain about the outages?
I think the result was so good, right? I don't see anybody complain about the outage, right? Because the result was very good. Then they decided to give bonus shares and everything. So I think most of the shareholder in DBS, right? The feeling is actually very happy on. Right, that's the feeling I get in the DBS AGM. But of course now recently they got another outage.
Outage again.
So I hope they are not cutting costs like SMRT used to do it, right? That caused the they cut costs and they lower on the maintenance, which is the history if you read the news, right? But I hope the efficiency comes. I think so far I see is really based on the bank getting more efficient.
So let's go straight into the 3 banks and their current dividend yields. What are the yields right now?
So right now the DBS yield is about 4.9%, UOB is about 5.7%, and OCBC is about 6%.
Wow.
But OCBC actually recently the share price have run up a lot, but then recently it just dropped again. Right. So right now around 13.71 is about 6%. I think for banks getting 6% is at, let's say, current interest rate environment, I think it's quite decent.
And this is based on FY dividend.
Full year dividend,
right?
So if I average out the 3 banks, average is about 5.5% yield.
About
right?
that? Yeah.
So that's pretty decent for some people.
I think you should get closer to 6% because of the current interest environment, and and also your CPF risk-free rate is about 4%. So if you add 2% to it to buffer everything, 6% is I think considered decent. But of course, if you look at book value, I think they are fairly valued.
All right.
I have one question. This one maybe for the shareholder next time they want to attend the future AGMs. Among the three, which one has the best buffet?
I don't know. I didn't stay around for the end.
I really didn't stay around also. So I think for DBS, they have been consistent for the past. I think the last year and this year I got is the 18 Chef $20 voucher. So for OCBC, what they get? Oh, OCBC is basically you go and get a bento set.
I think I think that it was a door gift at UOB. So you basically register to give you a slip of paper. You can go exchange it for a door gift.
Yeah, I remember one of the years they actually gave out the UOB Victoria book.
Oh,
yeah,
that's actually pretty good.
That was a few years back.
Yeah, that's actually pretty good.
It was quite good.
It was a door gift. I can't remember what it was because what's in the door gift? And they told me what it was. Oh, it's fine.
So you look in terms of value, I think DBS lah because they give $20.
Yeah.
Like the OCBC, the bento set, I think cannot be $20. I don't know lah. It don't. I mean, it looks very like saving the world, on the cardboard and all this.
Oh, okay.
The foods are good also, but because they purchase from the hotels.
Okay.
Because it's in MBS, right? So I don't think
could be. I remember an orange clove bento set is about $13.
Yeah. So let's say we were to do the same, maybe it's still less than the $20 value of DBS lah.
Okay, but we don't go there for these freebies, just to be clear, because we're going there to actually learn stuff.
Yep.
Actually, someone recognized me at the UOB queue as well. Say, are you from the fifth person? So do you get that sometimes?
For the banks, I think I didn't get it lah. For other AGMs,
the funny thing is I was in Hong Kong AGMs and somebody took a photo and sent it to us, right?
Yeah.
I didn't know that the person told me in the AGM because I was attending one of the AGMs in Hong Kong.
So even someone in Hong Kong recognized you there.
I get it very often nowadays.
Okay. Someone recognized me. So I basically chatted with him all the way through the queue, which took some time because it's a big AGM. A lot of people. I think he's a pretty savvy investor as well. He's older than we are. He's been a long time investor. Yeah, but it was a pretty good experience just going down to find out. Basically, all three banks are running fine.
Yeah,
they're good. Right?
I think in terms of the capital ratio, I think they can ride through the crisis. Yeah. Okay,
so then we have the yields, and is this an update of where they are right now as of this recording? So again, no recommendation to buy or sell anything. If you're looking at the banks, I mean, they are biggest companies in Singapore.
Yep.
Very consistent dividends. And we just wanted to share what we learned from the annual meetings and we know what's up with them at this point in time. Is there anything you want to share?
Yeah, that's all.
That's pretty much it. So we just want to update you guys because banks are always on our radar. Singapore banks anyway. Yep. So my name is Adam Rusmin. Victor. Thank you so much for joining us. Any questions about this? Feel free to ask them in the comment section. If you like this roundtable, please hit the like button. That really helps us with our recommendations on YouTube, and of course subscribe to our channel. Many more roundtables coming up, and we'll see you again.